The Assembly is really a place where we can bring together a whole bunch of different people with their ideas and thoughts and actually move forward in this conversation. So it's not just about discussing what's happening or what's happened in the past, but actually having conversations about what we can do in the future.
My main speaking points were basically that the smart city is what we make it and that we need to be conscious in the creation and construction of it and the rules that we come up with to govern it. And that conversation was really about how smart cities will become the product of our conscious creation, and that we need to be very attentive to what we allow them to be and what we prevent them from being, because if we're not attentive, they will become something that we're not happy with. It's very important for industry to come together at events like the Assembly, because the delivery of infrastructure from the planning stage through the design stage, the construction, operation and decommissioning stage is something that requires multiple stakeholders and multiple participants, and it's good to know who else is in the game, to be in the same room as them in an informal setting, to make connections, to get to know what the projects are and what's upcoming, and to establish those professional and social connections that then support good work in the future.
I think for me today, the really big take-homes were around success in the future is going to be about challenging the norms and as an industry working together to define a different future. I think particularly in Queensland, with the Olympics coming in 2032, we've got an enormous opportunity. What we have to do though is make sure that we are ready to face that challenge and that we're really set up for success. I think what COVID has taught us is that whilst we can all use technology, the real energy and creativity that comes from being face-to-face, having these conversations face-to-face, being able to network outside of the formal sessions, that's where we really come together as an industry and we really succeed.
And key takeaways for me are really about the optimism for the future in Southeast Queensland, the important role that infrastructure will play, and the way that we can do smart innovation to make it bigger and better for Queensland. It's all about building for the future to set up what's going to be improved connections for our city, for our people, mobility in and around the Great Southeast. Collaborating at events like this are really important. That face-to-face connection, that real understanding, and just the side conversations of topics that might come up incidentally, understanding and learning from colleagues and peers across the industry.
My big takeaway from today is how visionary the state is being about the new state infrastructure strategy and the willingness for public and private infrastructure parties to participate together and work on that strategy together. Some of the challenges the group here explored today were to look at what the world's going to look like in 20 years' time. The rate of change is going to be exponential. Potentially we're going to see equivalent to 300 years worth of change over the next 20 years. And that's going to be some really big changes for not just the infrastructure that we're delivering, but how we deliver it, how we work together. And so we spent some time immersing people into the headspace of what might look different in the future in 20 years and how can we start planning now and start acting differently now to work into that future.
So I think a couple of the big takeaways for me is the issue of looking and thinking about infrastructure delivery as a service. That's a really, I think, important concept for us because it speaks to what the outcome should be from the development of infrastructure rather than seeing the product itself as the endpoint. Partnerships between the industry and government are more and more critical, and we're really keen to do more work in that space.
It's really important that when planning infrastructure, we think about not just the individual piece, but how it fits within the ecosystem that it sits within. I think it is important for us to come together and have these discussions to learn from each other. If we all work within individual silos, we don't get the opportunity to learn what everyone else is doing in the industry that actually affects us, our clients, our own work and the environment that they sit in. So I think it's really important, particularly from an emerging professionals perspective. If we don't attend these events, we don't hear what's happening and then we can't form our own views. So really, really important, and I encourage all of my emerging professional peers to come and take a seat at the table.
Queensland is a superpower. We have all of the ingredients to come together with the green economy, but a green industrialised economy where we can be creating the value add, high quality goods and services that we can export into ASEAN and actually be creating things here onshore in a way that we never had before, because we have all of the ingredients to actually embrace a carbon zero future in a way that other countries don't necessarily have.